What's up guys, welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to continue working on that bargain Ferrari 456 project of mine. Hopefully make a few more improvements and get that car back into tip-top condition. Some of you have been asking me for a garage update on what I've got now. That's been changing throughout the year. There's going to be a few more changes there. I need to make a little bit more space for another potential project in the pipeline. But for now, I can give you an update of the garage itself. I've renamed this place the Rat Cave. Obviously with the Ratarossa sat here behind you, it makes sense to have the Rat Cave. The Rat Cave itself is just getting a little bit of a man cave improvement. I've got some nice carbon fibre up here from the Challenge Ferrari, some spare bits in case I ever need such things. Nice little sign up there, tube sign. Gradually we're going to make this place look pretty cool. But anyway, grab yourself a nice cup of coffee, a cup of tea. I'm going to go out there in the sunshine and we'll start filming and hopefully, like I say, make a few more improvements on the project 456. I'm going to continue focusing on the check engine and the suspension warning light on the dash. They are the two problems with this car that stop it being a pleasure to drive. So I'm going to take my diagnostic tool, plug it in, see if we can pull up any codes, see what the codes relate to, and then try clearing them from the car's memory. Sometimes they get stuck in there and that's why the light just won't go out. So let's try that and see if we have any success. So I was unaware of this, but this 456 does actually have an Obd Ii socket. This is a 1997 model and the socket is up under the dash here. So we're going to plug in my dongle. We're going to use my Ferrari software and we're going to see, I don't think we have a 456 option in here, but I might be able to find something and get some kind of code from the car. I'm going to try and reset things like the check engine light and see if we've got anything we can pull up for the suspension. I'm going to put a link in the video below where you can obtain this with the dongle all set up, ready to just plug and play. So have a look at that. So let's plug it in. The socket goes in down under here. Okay, so we've got that, and surprisingly I do have 456, so we're going to use a 456 generic one there. Ferrari 456 gasoline, and I'm going to run a scan, and that's not very helpful. That's the result I get. Let's try something else. So I'm not really getting much from the computer. I think the yeah, the thing here, yeah, it's not working. It's not picking up really much. I think the 456 is probably a little bit too old for this software. Brilliant on the 360. Anything after the 360 is really cool. I think the 430, like I say, just a little bit too antiquated for stuff like this. So I've plugged in my just cheap generic scanner here and it looks like it's picking up some code. So let's have a quick look. I'm just going to go and select just generic. So I've got a P1625. I shall have a look at these later. But yeah, we've got a few codes. So I'll go through, but let's see if I can erase those codes. See if we can get any of the lights to go out on the dash. So we've just been to the Ferrari's favourite destination, the fuel station, where it's had a lovely drink. And now we are seeing if we've managed to fix either of those two problems and get rid of those two lights on the dashboard. So let's take it out for a drive. So good and bad news. Good news is the check engine light has gone out and it also is driving superbly still. So it looks like we have fixed our half power problem for sure. The bad news is the suspension light is still on. So we're going to have to continue looking into what has caused that. But, like I say, it's driving lovely. That was a wheel spin. That was a wheel spin. This car's got power. So in the last video, we checked to see if the GTA automatic gearbox would allow me to spin up the wheels on the 456. Bit of a cheat, we did it on grass. Most cars will spin on grass. Let's try it again on tarmac. Yep, that worked. That works. Had the tail end out a bit there. Very cool, very cool. Impressive. I like this car more and more every time I drive it. I really do. Right, let's get back and do some work. Before I get underneath the car and look at the suspension itself, I want to do another couple of quick checks on the inside. So I want to look at the switch and I want to look at the fuse board. So let's take a look at the switch first, make sure it's all seated correctly. There's nothing obvious here. First of all, I need to get this stick out of the way. We need to just remove this trim panel and then I'll get the switch out. There we have all the switches. I'm going to just unseat that, just check all of those wires and connectors look okay. Still got the dash light on, so it's not the switch unless the switch is faulty itself. So let's carry on and have a look at the computer. So we're down in the footwell of the 456. This is where all the fuse board sits. I'll be back here again shortly looking at another problem on this car with our power drain. I've been sent a couple of lovely videos, really helpful, all about troubleshooting some of these electrical gremlins on the car, some helpful and handy tips and some tools that are needed. So very grateful for that. But we're going to go behind the fuse board, and down here is where our suspension computer sits. So we're going to take that out and have a quick look. And that's the suspension computer out the car. 154835 is a part number. I've just opened it up. I can't see anything obvious inside there. It doesn't look like there's any corrosion or bad joints, but you can never tell with these things. I will see if that is by any chance the same as a 355. I'm pretty sure it's not, but if it is, I can always try to change those between the cars. I'm going to have a quick look at the wiring. So in the last video I left off saying that I was going to change the 355 actuators, put them in the 456 and just verify everything was working. Someone had a much better solution. Instead of doing that, I have a perfectly good working Ferrari 355 suspension system. So instead of doing that, we're going to take each one from the 456, plug it into the 355 because it's really easy, and just check everything is still working when it's in this car. So we're in the 355. All that we've got on is the handbrake light, which if I do that, that will go, but we'll leave that on so I don't roll anywhere. We're going to test the suspension. So that is my sport mode for suspension. If I flick the switch, we get everything working there. Okay, so that is 355 working. We are now going to change over those actuators one by one and see if it works in the 355. That's the first one plugged in from the 456, so let's test that. Okay, as you can see, we have our first potential suspect. This is a 456 actuator in the 355. We've got the light on, so it looks like we've got a faulty, at least one. Let's go and check the others. Now it's time to test the back actuators. I've got the car jacked up. You don't even need to remove the wheel, so I'll show you the access panel and how you access those two rear actuators. Okay, so if I zoom in here, you've got an access panel just here, just a square one. You can see by the size of my hand it's not a big one, and that's half the problem. It makes really no difference if you remove the wheel or not. I've got enough clearance here, so we're going to take the 4 screws off this and then get in there. Okay, so that's the panel removed. As you can see, there's very little access here. If I put my hand there, you can see you've got the fuel tank, To remove the actuator, like I say, the hardest part is the little clip around the base of it. So we're going to try and do that. That's my connector block for it. So I'll do that, remove this, and then I will test it again in there. The other part with the cog you want to check is that little bottom bit where they kind of come together and cause the stop. That can also break off as well as the teeth, so you need to check that as well. The easiest way of doing that is to use a cheap endoscope like this. It's about £15. I'll put the link in the description below. LEDs on the end of the camera there, so it's brilliant for getting into little cubby holes like this. So I'm just going to have a fish around. I've got a separate screen here. Don't normally need that, but I'm doing it for filming so you guys can see what I'm doing. And we'll just put our scope in there. Have a look around. Have a good look at the gear. One handy tool I suggest you have is one of these little thin telescopic magnets. And the reason being, when you try, the hardest part of reinstalling one of these is to put the clip back on. As you can see, mine's pinged off and it's stuck in the corner there. There's no access, so I'm going to use my handy little magnet. Let's see if I can pick it up down there. There we go. And we'll try it again. So as you can see with this one, the clip is in the wrong place. It's just sat at the bottom. It's not in the little channel it needs to be. So we need to move that up. So you need to be very careful how this clip goes in, because it needs to hold that actuator down in place. And there we go. It's nicely sat in the channel now. We are back on the workbench, otherwise known as my kitchen surface. This is the failed actuator that we've plugged into the 355, and it's caused a load of problems. It's shown the suspension error on the dash. So with some everyday garage items, 12-volt battery, some wire, doesn't have to be different colors, I just so happen to have two different colors, some snippers, we're going to rig up a device and see the functionality of this actuator, see if it spins, and try and diagnose why this is causing a problem on the car. Right, our simple test station is all rigged up. Let me just move these out of the way. So basically all we've got, positive and a negative, just a wire to those terminals. I've put a couple of connectors on it. You don't even need to do that in all reality. All you need to be able to do is touch these wires on our actuator itself. What we're going to be doing is we're going to test the motor in this to see if it spins. The way we're going to need to do that is there's 2 pins out of the 6 on here that we need to touch, and they are the blue and the brown one here. So it's the lower 2 pins opposite this kind of connector housing at the top here. So the bottom 2 furthest right. Okay, so we've got our cables connected to the 2 pins. That one is not connected for some reason. There we go. There we go. If I hold that on there, you can see that is going clockwise. We know our motor is working in this actuator, so that's all good. Now that was going clockwise. If I reverse those around, I put the negative over there on the end, I put the positive next to it. That sends it anti-clockwise, reversing those 2 pins around. So we know the motor is definitely functioning in both directions. So the next thing to look at is these fail internally. So we can see this cog's moving. You can see there's a lot of movement in here. So typically what happens is there is a little plastic bracket around this center part, and that snaps. Now, these, like I say, £900 per unit. Something like $1,500 with VAT for one of these. So they are super, super expensive. We know that it's functioning. It looks just like the plastic inside has broken. It's very difficult to see. I can't even see it with my naked eye off camera underneath there. The only way, real true way, is to kind of cut it and have a good look inside. There's a company in America that make a CNC kind of metal part to go inside there. I know it used to be available. I'm going to do some research now and we'll see if we can order one of those up and save a heck of a lot of money. And this is the website I found. They specialize in shock actuator rebuilds for the Corvette, Ferrari and Maserati. Nice little overview on the front page, bit of diagnostics for you, and at the bottom here you can see the metal gears that sit on top of the shocks themselves and an example of a cracked gear, damaged, so something to look out for. Then we have a bit of specifics. Again, this is the internals that I was showing you on the actuator itself, the plastics that I said you're very hard pushed to be able to see that underneath that lip. This is the upgrade that the Captain Z CNC team provide, and then we go to the ordering page. They charge $125 per actuator to be rebuilt. They offer a couple of extra bits that you can order, things such as this retaining clip, which is very tempting because it's nice to have a spare one of those. Those things ping off, as I said. So I will be packaging up one of mine and shipping it over to these guys to get mine rebuilt. I finished checking all of the 4 actuators from the 456, plugging them into the 355, and we have just this one failing actuator. So next I'm going to take a good one from the 355, plug it in our failing spot on the 456 and see if that cures our problem. Moment of truth, let's see if this works. Join me again in the next one and we'll find out we finally fixed the suspension issues on our Ferrari 456. I want to thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Click that button below. And don't forget, click that notification bell and you'll get a pop-up telling you when my next video is released. I'll see you again shortly. Ciao for now.